The federal government wants to put time limits on how long a person who is able-bodied, not disabled, not elderly, can receive Section 8 housing assistance. And now they believe that over 300,000 households in New York City would lose their aid if this comes to pass. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. So I have quite the interesting topic for you today, and it's coming out of New York City, and it has to do with Section 8. Now, I talk about how, I don't like Section 8. I don't like the program. I know that a lot of landlords do like this program, though, and they make quite a bit of money off of it. They base their entire business model off of receiving the housing vouchers from the federal government. Now, the federal government is making big cutbacks to this program, and the end result's going to be that a lot of people could end up getting kicked off, which could really, really hurt a lot of landlords. Now, I personally am not worried because I don't have any Section 8 tenants right now, but this could come back and bite those people who thought that, hey, Section 8 is the way forward, and that they, determined that, hey, you know what, all of my properties are going to be Section 8, okay? Now, that isn't everybody. There's a limited number of landlords who do work and rely upon this model, but you know what? I think that a lot of them will be able to easily transition over into just the regular rentals, okay? I really do. I think that most of them will be okay. There will be some who really struggle to do that, but that's going to be the very, very small minority. So if they do make large cutbacks to Section 8, most landlords are going to be just fine. That's my personal belief, okay? Now, the real interesting thing about this article isn't the impact that it's going to have on landlords when they make these cuts. It's the sheer number of people on Section 8 in New York City. And remember, New York City is kind of a microcosm for the entire country, okay? So the sheer number of people on Section 8 who would lose their benefits is staggering to me, okay? 300,000 households. It's insane, okay? Just think about this for a second. So they want to make cuts to the number of people on Section 8. So they're saying, hey, if you've been on Section 8 for more than a couple of years and you're able-bodied and you're not elderly and you're not disabled, then you're going to lose your benefits. And they came up with 300,000 households. That's insane. Okay, I mean, I would have never thought it was that many, but that's a huge chunk, which goes to tell you that a lot of people, they are getting on this program and then they are relying 100% on the government, which is the whole fatal flaw of these socialist programs, right? You would think, hey, this will give a person a little bit of time in order to get back on their feet after they suffer from maybe a job loss or maybe a devastating, somebody passing away or injury or whatever, right? And no, it's not a little bit so you can get back on your feet. You're going to be living on this for the rest of your life. That's what Section 8 has become. You're going to be dependent on the government for the rest of your life. And these people got no problem with that. I do have a problem with that because guess who has to pay for that? Me and other people who pay taxes, such as myself. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So first of all, if you're a landlord, would you be impacted by a law that cut that many people off of the Section 8 program? Okay. Now, I think that they are going to have cuts. I don't know if they're going to be as severe as they expect, but I believe there are going to be cuts. I do think it's a good thing to have cuts because, like I said, I don't agree with all this socialist nonsense, okay? But that's the other question. Do you think that the cuts that they are proposing, do you think that they go far enough? Do you think they go too far? Put a comment in the comment section down below, and let's get into the article and see what it says. This article is coming from thecity.nyc, and it says, Trump public housing time limits could displace 300,000 New York City residents. Internal analysis finds. An assessment of the New York City Housing Authority projects dire consequences of the president's proposal to allow just 2 years of rental assistance to able-bodied adults. Let's get into it. A Trump administration plan to set time limits on how long able-bodied tenants can receive federal rental assistance would have a devastating effect on the New York City Housing Authority, an internal analysis by the authority has found. NYCHA officials have to date said little publicly about the potential ramifications of Trump's proposed changes on the nation's biggest public housing authority. But U.S. Representative Richie Torres told the city that the authority management has provided him with a stunning estimate on the impact of the time limit proposal. More than 300,000 residents in public housing and apartments privately rented with public aid could lose their homes. And I think that's kind of not exactly true. Okay, so I thought it was 300,000 households. That was my mistake. It says 300,000 residents. Okay, 300,000 households would have been like probably at least double that, 600,000 people. So this is probably more like 100,000 households, but still a very, very staggering number. So you have to think about the population of New York being around 8 million people. Then we have 300,000 of those people who are on Section 8, but not just on Section 8, but who are able-bodied and who have been on the program for more than 2 years. That means that there are a staggering number of people within the city of New York who are on the Section 8 program, who are receiving housing assistance. Okay, that's nuts. Why are there so many people? Like, what are we talking about here? There's probably more people on Section 8 in New York than the entire population of the city of Omaha, where I live. The population here is like 490,000. That's insane. Okay, and I know New York is the biggest city in the entire country, but just the sheer number of people that are on housing assistance, it just, blows my mind. Okay, you would think that housing assistance would be much, much more limited. And it's just, I realize housing is expensive there, but I personally believe that, it is expensive because the policies they put into place, not because, the market is crazy or whatever, right? The market is crazy because the policies they put in place, such as rent control, okay? Such as making it darn near impossible to build anything out there, such as all the different government agencies and everybody trying to get, tax you to death and, just fine you for stupid nonsense. They drove the price of real estate up by basically too much government up there. And now they're complaining that, everybody needs Section 8 to survive. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? But anyway, let me continue. In its preliminary budget for fiscal year 2026 released earlier this month, the Trump administration proposed a cut of 43% to all federal rental assistance, including for public housing and the program that subsidizes rent paid to private sector landlords, known as Section 8. The proposal also said the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development would impose a new cap on how long households that include what HUD described as able-bodied adults could receive federal assistance. After 2 years, HUD would terminate the benefit. HUD noted the cap would not apply to senior citizens or tenants with disabilities. Based on that vague description, New York City Housing Authority calculated that 316,000 of its residents residing in public housing and in Section 8 private landlord properties NYCHA oversees are under the age of 62 and do not report a disability. That estimate accounts for 61% of the tenants receiving assistance via NYCHA. So 61%, that's 3 out of every 5 tenants in there is an able-bodied adult without a disability, okay, and who is not elderly. 61%. So a lot of the times when I'm talking about how much I despise the Section 8 program. People, but the elderly need it. The people with disabilities need it. And I'm like, yeah, but they make up the minority of the people on it. Okay? Everyone knows this. They make up the minority, the people who have actual disabilities and who are elderly, who actually need the program. They are they're just the much smaller number. The much larger number is people who are capable of working, capable of paying their own bills, but don't, and the government does for them. Now, what could the results of something like cuts like this, what would the result really be? Okay? Think about this for a minute. Okay, suddenly you have 61% of the people who were on Section 8 who are no longer on Section 8 and have to pay their own rent. Well, a lot of people would have to make tough decisions at this point. A lot of people would. Okay, are you going to be homeless? I don't think the average person is going to just suddenly say, you know what, I'm just going to be homeless from now on and end up on the streets. That would be ridiculous, okay? Instead, what's probably going to happen is people will find new housing, reality where they have to either find somewhere smaller and cheaper, regardless of where it's at, okay? So that might mean, hey, we got to move out of New York City. We can't afford to live here anymore with this new housing situation. So that, like I said, this could actually hurt landlords who are reliant on these Section 8 tenants. And that's why I say, if you're a landlord, put a comment in the comment section down below, because I really do want to hear your opinion. But, I'm not sure if any of this is going to pass as of yet, right? But a lot of these new policies, they have been passing. And I think that if I was a landlord up there right now, or if I was even here in Omaha, Nebraska, where I focused the grand majority of my investments on Section 8 tenants, I'd be looking at, hey, where do I go from here? Okay, what am I going to do if these programs get cut? Anyway, put a comment in the comment section down below.